right, it is now recording. We are live under this recording, and this part is, I guess, we call it because it can't be beyond the panel. It can't be beyond the MC. The MC. Um, so I guess we call it beyond the visionary or the facilitator, as Nicole. So this is where Nana will talk to me and uh, help people get to know me and how, I've come to the conclusion of beyond the surface, beyond goodbye. So, Nana, take it away.
Take it away. All right, Nicole. So, we just want to use this time to get to know your vision, what brought you here, what made you bring this vision to life, okay? Because this gathering that you're creating, it feels very intentional. It feels very divine. It feels very connected to who you are as a person. So, tell me what moment or experience brought you to the realization of this space needs to exist, that we need this. I got something to say and I want to give it to the world. What happened to lead you there?
Well, I mean, okay, so there's a couple things that I think kind of happened in the process of my life where um, the difficulties of losing someone was very heavy. And
Mm-hmm.
the first, I mean, I would say my first encounter with that was when my cousin Brian passed away. He was 23 and he died from leukemia. And I know at the time I was a very quiet person, so I kind of dealt with my own grief in some ways, especially when he was like one of my favorite cousins. Like, it was more like a brother to me than anything. Like, it was about four or five of us that were almost the same age and we used to hang together, and then for that person to no longer be here physically, because of course I feel that he definitely is here spiritually, how I am. And
No.
I mean, at that time I didn't understand it, so I kind of just moved on with life, not really getting the uh proper, I guess, ways in which to handle it. And then also watching his mom go through it, and not uh, truly understanding what she was truly going through. And also, I had another cousin who lost, well, I call her my aunt as well. But she lost her son. He was 13 and he had like an enlarged heart, or I can't remember what it's actually called medically, but yeah, he passed away. But he wasn't even. They kept saying. I remember them saying that he wasn't supposed to make it through um, to this age, and so just just that whole experience was kind of difficult for me. But I didn't really understand it then like I did. But I mean, also, I always bring up anything that has to do with the transition is the two women that died 3 days apart, which was my mother-in-law. She passed away January the no I'm sorry, February the 12th, and then my grandmother died 3 days later right behind her, February 15th. So we were dealing with two deaths at the same time. And I always say two matriarchs, the women behind who I was. My grandmother basically raised me, and LeBaron's mom, my husband's mom, was like my own mother, in some ways. And she didn't treat me like a mother-in-law. She treated me like I was her daughter, and we had such a great bond that you know it was just difficult to watch both of them pass away at the same time almost. But it was like I was numb. Like I didn't truly experience or really go through the grief of it. And I remember writing a book on this. I remember writing a book called What to Do When a Loved One Dies. And it was more about like the logistical part, like, the funeral and different things like that. And this is where I always say that someone's transition or death can be someone else's resurrection. They really initiated my beginning when it comes to writing, when it comes to seeing things different, when it comes to finding the steps. And I really feel like those were the pieces that kind of brought this to the forefront. It initiated it. But
Yeah.
when my husband had cancer, like, and we were staring his, what is it, mortality in the
Mm.
face, like, because the first thing you hear when you hear cancer is most people psychologically just go to death, like, because they
Yeah.
know cancer can be just that sneaky, that can
Mm.
take you away. But now knowing it, and oh my gosh, I watched a documentary, and I know this is kind of off topic, but I watched um what's his name? You know how
I
I love.
know.
I watched Stuart Scott's documentary the other day, and he was battling cancer. And one of the things when
Mhm.
he got his award that he said was, just because you die from cancer doesn't mean that you lost. You
Mhm.
win and beat cancer from how you move through your life, how you show up, how you know when to say I'm tired and let somebody else take the reins. And that,
Mhm.
like, just floored me. So to me, when my husband was going through that, I now understand exactly what he meant by that. And when he
Mhm.
was going through that, the first thing for me as a human to think is, oh my God, my husband's going to pass away. I'm going to be
Mhm.
here without him. The person that I've been with for 25, 26 years of my life, who is my bestest friend,
Mhm.
it made me, and then watching him go through the chemo and not being there because of 2020. So I couldn't be there with
Yeah.
at all, while he was, because he had to stay into the in the hospital while he was taking his treatments, because they had to make sure that it wasn't affecting his kidneys and all this other stuff. And I couldn't do anything. Thank God we had FaceTime, but other than that, and then one time he almost coded, and it was just a whole lot of anxiety and a lot of heaviness that was happening. So my whole thing was to go inward and to find. So when I went inward, it was more about meditation, because while he was there, I had to find ways in which to move through these emotions and move through life, a little bit without him being here, and trying to truly not go crazy myself because I wasn't able to be there for him. And I
Yeah.
used to do stuff like, I remember going to buy softballs because I was a avid softball player. So I would go buy softballs in the t-ball stand, and I would be in my backyard and I would hit it. So that was my way of getting out anger. The way of finding my answers, because at that time I was so fucking angry at God because of what this is, because of what was happening. And I started to go inward. And the question that people used to say, well, not the question, the thing that people used to say is, you're not supposed to question God.
Mhm.
I remember in a meditation hearing, well, how do you find your answers if you don't question? And
Mhm.
ever since then, going within was the thing for me. So not only did they initiate what was happening in me when it comes to storytelling and different things like that, he initiated another side of me that started to see the transition as something more amazing, and not necessarily as, you know, this bad thing that we feel. And I get it. I understand how it's definitely heavy and it's definitely hurtful. And I understand all the emotions that come behind, losing someone to, the transition. But I also understand it as a graduation. I understand it's for that actual person and not necessarily for us. We are affected indirectly, but that person has just completed their purpose. They've just, it don't matter how it looks, they still have completed what they were put on this earth to do, whether it's like you said,
Yeah.
giving a smile to somebody, handing somebody, I don't know, McDonald's, or feeding somebody. I mean,
Yeah.
or
Counts.
even if, I mean, all of it, even if you're like a guitarist and you're playing for a church or whatever have you, you you're living out something that you are here, that you were meant to do here. And I really feel like that was why this space existed, and the reason why I kind of felt that moms needed um a little more love is because we usually don't give moms that space. And I think that is probably one of the most heavy deaths that is
Mm-hmm.
out. Not to say that the story is different or anything like that, but I'm just saying, because us as mothers, we are nurturers. We want, our kids to go out and experience the world. And then when we feel like they're cut short, even though they have basically lived out the life that they were supposed to live out, um it's heavy. It's heavy, because you can understand. We all know the way that we've been taught that the transition is supposed to go. Great grandmother, grandmother, mother, father, whomever, uncles, aunts. It's usually the older, and then when life shifts to something else, like someone losing their child, like it takes away, like, it's just so hard. It's so hard, and I just felt like moms needed a space to kind of really move forward. But this space isn't just about moms. I just wanted their voice to be anchored, but it's for anybody who's lost anybody to just get some nuggets or some love or whatever have you. And honestly, this is why that space exists. This is why I wanted to do this, because though we all grieve, we don't all know how to move forward, with that grief, or how to release that grief, or what are the next move forward. So, and I know I put a whole bunch in there, but I mean,
Look, you just answered my other questions in one.
oh,
Effective.
so funny. I'm sorry. But I mean, yeah, that's basically why this space existed, because of the fact that we've all experienced grief. Um, we've all experienced losing someone, or I don't even know if we really lost that person. Like, that's another thing that I
Yeah,
could talk about.
I don't think you lose people.
But because I feel like they're still here, and I don't feel like they're up there. I think they're in this physical reality, in a different frequency that we can no longer see, because we're in this frequency. We're in the human frequency. We're in the earth frequency. They're spirits now, and we are
Mhm.
also spirits, but we're human beings. They're now beings. The human
Yes.
part is gone, so I look at it that way. But I just wanted people to really understand that there's a deeper um, level of beyond, um, what is it? Beyond goodbye. Like, there's so much more that we can see below the surface of what's happening. So, those were my reasonings for creating this space, because I know what it feels like. I may not know what it feels like as a mom, but I know what it feels like to lose someone that you're really close to, what those
Yes.
feelings feel like, and not being able to really release those feelings, but we hold them for a long time. And, you know, I think these women can help us kind of find ways in which we can actually learn to let some of that dense energy go. That was the reason for
Yes.
this to exist. I'm sorry. I just took all.
Yeah. Oh, good, because you basically answered the other question. So, one thing I've always loved about you, especially when it comes to this, you always bring a new perspective that a lot of people haven't considered, right? And when it comes to grief and surviving grief, I've always loved your perspective because every time you say soul contract, I fangirl every time because I just love the whole concept of it, and I love that you created this space because this gives people an opportunity. Kind of, it's almost like the experiences that you give online in person, right? And that people can actually hear it, feel it from you. But then I love the fact that you handpicked, and let's be real, you handpicked every person that's going to be there on the panel that not only have experienced it, but you pick people that can communicate it in a way that other people can not only resonate with but they can also speak it in a way that's powerful and impactful. So there's so much that you're bringing to it. And I love that I feel like we were talking about in the other interview, like full circle. And I feel like this event is really very much so a full circle moment from you because through all the suffering, the healing you had to do, there were lessons learned. And the only way that we can really, it's just like what they say with knowledge. Knowledge is not knowledge unless it's shared, you know? And when you share it, it not only heals you, but it empowers people to keep that ripple going and doing what you got to do. So I am just in love with the fact that you're even doing this because I've always been a big fan of all things grief from you, and hearing your story and hearing about the things that you went through with grief. And I love, I'm a big fan of the people that I know that are on the panel, and I think it's going to be amazing. But one thing that I want to make sure, let's talk a little bit about what the actual event is, right? So let's go back to who this event is for. So let's talk about who it's for and what is the promise of the event, because every event has a promise. Like, what is it that people will experience, the outcome that they can expect from the event?
Well, I say number one is for anybody who has truly lost someone that they love and they don't really know the next steps on how to move forward. Um, and this is not one of those theory experiences that I've had. Like, I've lived this. I know what it feels like to lose somebody and not really be like what to do next, how to move how to move forward, how to like you know, just get up while the world is still turning when you don't want to get up. You don't want to um move. Like, it's just a lot of that, but I do understand that this is for anybody who has been through any type of grief that way and may not know how to move forward with it. Your next question was what? I forgot.
Basically, like the promise of the
Oh,
event, like what is it that people can expect to walk away with when they do the event?
I think the biggest thing that I wanted people to really walk away with is a release, um, a connection, letting people know that they're not, that they're not by themselves, that they're not in
Mm-hmm.
this by themselves, that there are people who have been through this grief stage and you know have learned how to not necessarily cope with it, but move in a way that sustains them. Like, I had a talk with my cousin who lost her son um, to someone killing him over some shoes. Um, and to see how she was when she first went through, like when it first happened, the numbness, all these little intricate things that she don't even realize, like I watched in her, from the numbness to the anger. And matter of fact, we did our one-on-one the other day, and I cannot wait for people to see it because I was so in awe with what she was talking about. And just to see the stages that she went through and see where she is now, I couldn't hold back how proud I was of her. And not necessarily for you, but just for the person that she was to where she is now and how she looks at what happened differently. Like, she said she doesn't even like really so much blame the boy himself. The act is what was the hardest part. And that's hard to kind of understand, but I mean, I really want people just to understand that this we're all connected. Grief and losing someone, is inevitable. Like we all have our number. We all have exit points. We're all going to, leave this physical earth and become the beings that we truly are anyway. Because I am a firm believer that being on earth is death, and being, you know, in the spiritual realm is life. And it's I really want people to understand that the grief, you don't have to hold it yourself, and just to listen to other people's stories, just to see how they got through the steps that they took, um and for us to like just be very communicative in not just our words, but in our connection to each other. um I don't know, I'm just really excited, and I just want people to be more aware, I would say, more aware of their grief, more aware of the fact that they're not by themselves. And yeah, that those are my basic points of who it's for, and truly what they should be able to receive from this. Like, it is truly about the connective part, seeing somebody else's story and hearing it and find the pieces that may connect to your story, and just listening to them and how they got through, how they moved through, how what kind of steps they took, what they were, the emotions, because that's big. And how they wanted to stop even though the world was not stopping. Like, you still had to go to work, you still had to function in this physical reality. And giving people like the steps on how they got that part somewhat down, because I'm
Yeah.
sure all moving through, they're all still moving through this. Like,
Yes.
I don't care what nobody say, grief and healing, all of that stuff is still linear to me. It's still like one moment you could be fine, and the next moment you could all of a sudden see something that you and that person love to do together, and it just brings it in. But then you have to mask it in some ways,
Yes.
because it just, like, if you're in an environment at that time where you know people are around you, it's like, what do you do in that moment? So that was my whole point. That's what I want people to get out of this. I hope. I know I went
Yes.
around the Robin Hood's bond, but it's okay.
It's a part of your charm.
It is.
But yeah, but what you're saying is absolutely true, and especially when it comes to the hierarchy and things like that. It's so crazy to me that like our mindsets about passing away, right? We know, or like they say, you have the understanding and the understanding. Like we understand that our day is going to come, right? We understand that that's the same truth for everybody that we meet. um Sometimes I even sit in traffic like, dang, some of these people are not going to be here one day. I even think of stuff like that. But it's one thing to understand and it's another thing to understand, right? And I feel like, unfortunately, because life is so distracting, because we have a willful ignorance sometimes to the reality of it, right? That
Yeah.
when it does knock on our doors, we're like, oh, how in the world could this happen to me? Like I didn't, things like that. And it's, first of all, this is not a judgment. This is me just understanding how the human mind works. And we create a reality in our head that we have a small inclination that that is a possibility, but we don't fully let it resonate that that is a possibility, right?
Yeah.
So when it does hit, it hits hard because it rocks our reality and it reminds us of something that we should not have ignored years ago, right? So, being that this event is something about grief and death, and being that this is an event that does not leave much room for a healthy willful ignorance that we seem to have, and
Mhm.
being that this is an event that is going to talk about it on a level that's beyond the surface, And then, being that this is an event that you're going to be surrounded by people who are feeling those same things, so the energy is going to be intense. All that being said, it is natural for someone to feel nervous about this event. It's natural for someone to not want to attend because it may introduce them to uncomfortable truths. It may introduce them to a version of reality they're not emotionally ready for, right? So, if that is somebody that's watching this, what is something you would tell them to help them? I don't want to say feel better because you don't necessarily feel better, but to help them be more open to attending.
I mean, I would say number one, we've been holding on to it for far too long. We've been taught, well, I'm gonna say we've been programmed to believe that death is something bad. And I guess, you know, one thing that I can say is if you are on the fence on something like this, right? Hmm, I feel like if you're on the fence, you need it. It's just that simple. Um,
Yes.
like if you're on the fence and you're basically telling yourself you don't want to do that, that means that you're holding on to way too much. And this is a
Mhm.
because again, these like I don't just create surface level shit. That's number one. I create shit that's going to now I don't mean it as shit, but I create
Oh, we need this shit because that's what makes it great too.
I create things like this to help people release, to help people see a different perspective, to help them understand again that they're not alone in the journey that they feel alone in. And if you are on the fence about it, that means that you need to be in the room because obviously, if you're not, you're still holding on to a lot of really dense emotions. And not to say this is not for somebody's healing. Maybe, and maybe that may happen. I don't know. But it's really to become aware of a conversation that we have not had as a full collective. Like everybody hides from this particular conversation. And like you said, it is a conversation that we're all going to dive into. Like everybody has exit points. Everybody's going to, like, just think about it. In 50 years, most of us won't be here. We won't be
Here, yeah.
here. And this is a way to change the programming for our own kids so they will actually understand. Like I think New Orleans was a place that did this the best, where they honored and celebrated the death of their people. They, you know, I think they used to like take their caskets through the streets and different, like they knew how to honor people's death. And it has become such dark darkness when honestly it's not a dark thing. Like you said, we already know that these things are going to happen. And it's really about understanding that, becoming aware of that. And I know people don't want to people don't want to talk about these type of things because it is a heavy thing, but it needs to be talked about. These things that they feel are heavy is why we're in the situation we're in now. Like this is why, because we try to ignore these type of conversations, but these are conversations that need to be had and need to be heard, because it changes the trajectory of the world, of how we see death, of how we see life, honestly. Because if you know that your inner knowing, you know that your exit point one day is going to come, you're going to live your life differently. And it's not just about,
That.
yeah, like me,
Yes.
look at me, I'm like, what? See the
Yes.
okay, bye person, whoever you were. Sorry about that, but Yeah,
I
it's
was
just
like, what the?
it's just like one of those conversations because I think I have my phone connected over here as well, and of course this is
Oh,
Apple
I was
computer.
like, you was cooking.
Was not. Damn it! Now I'm like, dang, where was I going? But I just feel like it's just one of those conversations that we are always trying to move away from or even dilute it, just by saying, oh, yes, that person passed away, but not realizing that it goes much more deeper than that. And I just feel like if you're on the fence, then your ass need to be
Mhm.
here. I mean, it's just that simple. Because like this is and if anybody knows me, I just do not do surface level stuff. I want people to heal and I want people to find a different way of thinking when it comes to you the transition, when it comes to our emotions, when it comes to so many other things that we've been programmed to believe are not good for us to tap into. Meditation, I mean, all of these things have been
Man.
hidden from us. Oh my gosh, it has been hidden from us in so many ways. And I guess I'm just going to have to be the one that steps outside of that and show people like you can find connections and ways and steps and how to move through this um as people say heavy thing. And I'm sure, when somebody, like if my husband passes away, I'm sure I'm going to also be in that place. But guess what? I will have a blueprint of some kind to be able to say, okay, this is what I can do, or this is something that I don't want to shy away from. I want to feel these emotions. I know that if I feel them and I walk through them, that will start my healing process. That will help me understand that my person may not be here physically, but guess what? They're still here spiritually. And just bringing in that different dynamic to understand, I wasn't going to go with the soul contracts, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. Um, I, I have,
I love it.
listen,
Expand, Nicole, expand.
oh, it's funny. I had someone really, really close to me, right? He had, and I don't want to put all this stuff out there, but he had that whole accident. And as soon as I say this, he probably going to beat me up for saying this,
You
but he's a truck
yeah.
driver. And there was this time where he's definitely somebody I look up to. He inspires me. He is such an amazing guy. I used to call him my first dad, honestly. And he was definitely a really big special father figure in my life. And I'm saying he like he gone, but he's still in my life. I
Yeah.
just talked to him the other day.
Yeah.
And when I talked to him the other day, he was like, I don't think you truly understood how you helped me. And like this is a almost 60-year-old man telling me that I helped him. Like that right there,
I love
like on the phone, I almost cried because I'm like, you don't realize who you're inspiring. Even the ones that you look at as inspiring, you inspired them.
mhm.
And basically, his
Yes.
story was the roads were slippery, and he was driving because I know him. He's definitely a very cautious driver. But the person that got hit by the truck, he was an older gentleman, and it was about four people in the car. But the woman that was in the back, and I think she was the mom, she ended up passing away, and it was heavy, heavy on him. And he had also just kind of transitioned through cancer. So this was like his first few couple weeks back to work. So
Mhm.
in that process, he it was heavy on him. I don't know why he called me. Like at this time, my husband was actually, and it was so weird. My husband on at that time was in the actual it's not a hospital, but it's like this facility that he was getting his hip replaced while I was talking to him. So I'm trying to, prepare myself for what's about to happen with my husband when he gets out of this surgery. and I'm also talking to him, and we're talking, which he kind of helped me get my mind off of my husband. So, and we're talking, and I'm
Mhm.
telling him, I was like, I know this is going to sound weird. I know this may not sound right to a lot of people, but I look at the contractual agreements that we have with people when it comes to the transition. He felt so much guilt, even though it was not his fault, that he felt like he killed this lady. But I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't think you really understand the dynamics of what just happened. You were an initiator of her exit point. That was her exit point. That's how she decided spiritually how she wanted to go. This was her
Mhm.
way of saying, this gentleman, we're going to all in the spiritual realm. They sat together. They said, this is how we're going to do this. This is what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, who is going to be involved. And because honestly, our souls know people before we do physically. So with that being said, I was trying to let him know that what he did was not, it's not always in a negative sense. Yes, it feels heavy, it feels bad, you feel guilt about it, but you in some ways helped her transition. And that is that to that lady, that woman, because I think she was in her 70s or something. And I know the family
Mhm.
may not think this, but I just think on a different level. Um, the car had to stop where it had to stop. The person, she had to be in the back. I mean, none of this is coincidental. All of this was
Yeah.
all
Yep.
contractually agreed to before we even got into this physical reality. And I could see things like that when it comes to the soul contractual agreements that we have with each other. Death for her and for everybody else is a graduation, whatever it may look like. This was her way of saying, because I'm sure she had exit points before here, because we all do. I've had four myself where I could have really transitioned into spirit, into being. But I knew that I had more work to do, and I knew that I needed to do more work. With her, that was her exit point. How it all happened, it had to happen in that way, because we do believe that, when people leave this earth, um, that is, it's, how do I say this without drawing like the negative from people? Um, but we all do in some ways. We can help people move through their transition. I'll say it that way. And he, in some ways, helped her through her transition. He was a person that kind of, you know, they all put this together. I'm just going to say it that way. Um, but I just look at things differently when it comes to, death. I see how we're all integrated. I see how we're all different. I see how we're all, well, different in the sense of um, we all kind of, I don't know if I want to say that. I want to say we all kind of in some ways help each other out. Um, but some people may not understand what I'm trying to say. So
I'll explain it. We all live a collective experience. We all live a collective consciousness, and we all have individual roles that play a part into a collective rhythm.
thank you.
And our collective rhythm is divine. It's not anything. We have, our part, but at the end of the day, it's all about timing, and the collective rhythm is going to happen, and we all play a part in every single facet of each other's experience, whether we believe it or not.
Absolutely.
That's pretty
Yeah.
much it. Yeah.
Exactly what I was trying to say.
You
And
can't argue with
I'm sure
that.
you've heard me talk about this enough that you are catching on now.
Well, it's something I believe too. I'm really big on the collective experience. Like I believe in that wholeheartedly. Like in every facet of life too.
Yeah. I just feel like our when we leave this physical reality, that is a graduation. We have just graduated boot camp, or we have just graduated like the highest university that there is, because as we all can see, this is a place of learning, of elevation, of lessons. Like, it's all duality. Like, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, but it's truly how you get through them that is where the growth is. Like, that's how you go to the next level. That's how you move to the next grade. And once you get to a point where you have completed this, that's your exit. That's
Yes.
your time to shine. Honestly, that's your time to shine. And
Mhm.
I remember a lot of people. There's going to be a special person there too that's going to talk about this in a little bit more depth. But the near death experience, like, I've had a couple people that have had near death experiences, and they don't see light when they have passed away for 10 minutes or 15 or 30 minutes. They see darkness. And I've even done this in the oh my gosh, I can't even think of the things. The Oh my gosh, it just fails my brain right now. The hypnosis, the past life regression hypnosis. Like, when ask people to take their last breath in that lifetime, what do you see? Everybody says they see dark. So we have this thing about dark and light where it's totally different. So when uh a loved one transitions, they don't just necessarily see light, you see darkness.
Walk to the
But
light like everybody says.
it's like the embracing kind. It's the kind that has nothing but love. And
Oh, boy.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry, I went that way again. But
Look,
yeah, it's for anybody. Well, your question was, okay, go ahead.
if they're worried about it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So basically, yeah, if they're worried about it, then they just, like you said, if you're worried about it, if you're nervous about it, that's more reason that you have to be there.
yes,
You need to be because you have some blockages that you need released, and you can benefit from the validation and the confirmation of hearing others going through that and actually having that new perspective that can help you relinquish, because I know there's a lot of self-shaming and blaming and stuff involved with death sometimes, and people feel like if I just woulda, or if I just woulda, or this is that, or da da da, and it's like it's beyond us,
yeah.
right? We can do what we do, we can not do what we want to do, but like you said, it can not only shift your past, your perspective on the past, it can also shift your perspective of the present. Now, my next question is, let's say somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh my God, Nicole, that sounds so amazing, for whoever it's for, right? And they feel like, but I haven't really dealt, like me, for example, I haven't really dealt with like a serious, like real close,
Mhm.
heavy hitting death, right? I've had some that people close, like I lost my favorite cousin, lost friends, things like that. But I could be one of those people that feel like, well, because I haven't experienced grief and death, but I'm grieving somebody that's still here, can I still come?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, grief is not just to one relationship, or grief is not um just one surface. Like, that grief is many, many, many surfaces. Like, grief of yourself. Like, you can have grief of your identities. It could be grief of um you know an animal. It could be grief of, like you said, a friendship that's still, like, a person that's still here, but the friendship
Mhm.
has been severed. Or, I mean, grief can go many, 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 many places.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't think people realize that as well. Like, you
Hmm.
know you sometimes when you are trying to change identities and you want something better for your life, and the people around you may not see your vision, like, that's also a piece of grief, because you want them to see your vision. You want them to feel just as energetic as you are about an idea that you may have. And then you have to realize that sometimes people don't see that. Sometimes you may be called the crazy one, or you may be called the weird one. Well, I had grief about that. I mean, I hid myself for a long time. That was grief of an identity that I was trying to shed at that time. And I used to be real quiet about this conversation because I wasn't sure how people were going to take me in
Mhm.
this new identity. And I
Mhm.
get the weird. I get the what the hell is going on with Nicole. I get all of that. But guess what? I have anchored myself into this identity so much that I could give a shit about how people think about me. As long as I am bringing a perspective that can help somebody else out, like, you may not see it, but somebody else is going to need that perspective, even if it's about someone they lost, it's about an animal they lost, if it's about, I mean, it could be, grief could be about anything. It could be
Mhm.
getting a new car, like, and grieving the one that you loved so much. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it could be, grief is so many things below the surface that we don't even realize. Like, beyond goodbye, huh, I mean, it could be anything. Beyond goodbye could be any type of grief um that we hold inside of us. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, it's real, and I feel like people need to take on a recycle mindset is what I call it, where you can hear something. I read a lot of books, listen to a lot of podcasts, and different opinions varying on all different things.
Yeah.
I can hear four different opinions about the same thing, but I've learned the recycle mindset that I throw out what works and recycle what I can. If it feels like it resonates with me, and I feel like with this event, that's important for somebody that may feel like, oh, I haven't grieved a major death, so I don't belong here. But you, like you said, you can grieve other things.
Yes.
And I feel like it's important that even if you attend and you can pull pieces, like we was talking about before, that can shift your perspective on how you live your life. Like the beauty of this event is that it really helps you in three different ways, right? It helps you understand what grief actually is. It helps you know how to navigate it. And it also helps you really realize that death is what makes life so great,
Mm-hmm.
because if you know that is inevitable, if you know, no matter how you view it, if you view it as a good thing, bad thing, or in between, the only thing you have, you don't have control over your exit point,
Yeah.
but you do have control over your now. So if you know, because I know that's how I live my life now, where I'm like, that's why I say now I just do it for the plot, just to say I did it, because who knows, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want, it's one of those things where regret is scarier than failure. And people can really just hone in on the present by the lessons that you'll teach in the event, by having those conversations. Thinking about, if you're listening to a conversation about someone that's lost a child, you're going to hold yours even more tighter. If you're hearing about somebody that's grieving a loss of a job, you may walk in that next job with your shoulders held back a little bit more than they were the other day. There's all, like I tell my daughter all the time, there are more instances of happiness than sadness. But the problem is we are trained to only see and put emphasis on what's sad, that we miss the happiness. And I feel like that applies to everything you were talking about. Even with grief, we're so focused on the fact that I feel bad, I don't feel great. You don't think about the happiness. Like you always say too, that when people, that you reach out to people that have passed, they don't want to come back, right? And we get caught up in that grief of, this is what I feel right now in this moment, that we forget to be present and we forget to recycle what we can. So even with the recycle mindset, you can do that. If you hear things in the event that make you uncomfortable, you have to understand that cognitive dissonance is a human reaction to information that is new, that you don't understand. But the beauty of the cognitive dissonance, it is a sign that you can open that door to change, right? Your mindset. But people have to see it. But I feel like you guys are going to do an amazing job, like communicating that. So anybody that is curious, is this going to help me? Yes, if you're open to it.
Yeah. And
Is
that's
this for you?
That's
Yes, if you recycle what is for you,
yes.
there's really no reason not to attend outside of you just can't make it,
Yeah.
honestly. And I really want to bring that home. That's why I'm asking the questions, because I know somebody seeing this is probably it causes the I read a book the other day, and he was talking about the sadness and the struggles of being first,
Mm,
right? That people don't think about, that when you're first, you're going to have to go through things in a whole different way. So a lot of the things that you talk about are things that people may feel are first that they've heard. So
yes.
there's going to be pushback,
Yeah. Absolutely.
emotional, all that. So I just want you to really speak to that if people are experiencing it, because it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to sit with uncomfortable thoughts. You're going to have to be around people that are sad. And I use those terms loosely because that's what people see, happy or sad. And if you're talking about something that's sad, people think, oh, it's sad. And that's fine, but there's space to grow in no matter what space. But I just want to really, 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 because I understand that with you being the first in your perspective, you being the first and presenting an event just like this, you're going to deal with struggles and cognitive dissonance from people. So I just want to ask you,
Mhm.
if there was one thing that they could take, just one sentence, one or two sentences that they can take and hold with them that helps ease that cognitive dissonance, that they will feel, that will help them feel like a qualified candidate for this event, what would it be?
Mm. Expand on that a little bit.
So, like, if you had that person there and you only had 5 to 10 seconds to convince them that this is where you need to be, what would you say?
Well, I'm gonna go with this first, and then I'll answer that. But if I have to convince you, then there's no point. That's number one. If I got to convince you that this is something for you, that you need to be there, then your mind is already closed to whatever.
Well, they could be nervous and curious, and they just, they just need to hear something that's affirming. That's the more direction I'm saying.
Okay. So if something you want me to give them something that's more affirming as to why
Yes. That
even
they need affirming of, that this is a space they should be in for whatever reason, even though they're uncomfortable, what would it be?
mm, that's a good question. I would say growth. Growth, um, elevation, awareness. Um, I'm trying to figure out some other words. Um, I mean, I just feel like we have to have these conversations, and I guess that's the biggest thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if you've never experienced it, one day you will. And
Mm-hmm.
even if you can get the nuggets from this, you will think about it later on when that time comes. I'm not going to say if, I'm saying when that time comes, you're going to be like, dang, I went to that. I remember what they were saying. And you might not remember it in the moment, but you will remember pieces of this whole event. Something is going to touch you, and something or someone is going to make you say, "Dag, I never thought about it that way. Dag, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know this it was just this deep." Like there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be something or someone that's going to test the programming that you've had in your head for the longest time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to resonate in a way that your soul is going to feel it, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, and you're going to battle with that because your soul is going to feel it, but your mind and what we've been programmed to believe is going to try to sway that. But
Mm-hmm.
if you can allow, I would just say, if anybody is really wanting to come just to kind of may that who may not have had that that really, really heavy uh transition of someone or anything like that, like just allow your soul to just feel the room, the energy. That's what it's really about. It's really about the
Hmm.
the room, the collective. And
Hmm.
people do look at this as sad, but it's not necessarily sad. And if you think it's sad, you're thinking um may not necessarily be in the right place, because this to me is more of a, I would say maybe like um a classroom in some ways, because you're learning how to move through when that time may come. You're learning how to see things differently. You're learning how to shift the perspective, and actually you're actually taking some of this back to maybe your friend that is going through it. It's not even about like you have not had this type of transition of someone before, but now you actually can speak to it for somebody who may be going through it. And now you see
Hmm.
it differently for that person. And now you can actually feel the empathy and the sympathy that, and now you understand the rawness around it. I mean, like you
Hmm.
are learning that, okay, my best friend just lost their mom or their dad or whomever, and now you are more aware of how to kind of help them through that, instead of not having the knowledge or the understanding of what's happening for that friend at the moment. So you're gaining experience, well, you're gaining knowledge to help them with their experience, if that is, something that may happen. um that's how I feel about it. I mean, I just feel like, yeah, I know that was maybe
Yes.
one or two sentences, but that question really kind of made me think. Like, it really made me think about it.
Well, now that you're thinking about it, my next question was, let's talk about the room, right? And we always talk about the table, right? Who has a seat at the table? Well,
Mhm.
guess what? There's seats in the room, and the room is sacred as the table is.
Mhm.
So when we talked about who should be there, who belongs there, let's talk about who doesn't.
Mm.
So if you had to describe the type of person who should sit this out, who should it be?
My first thought was people who are not ready to shift their perspective. Um, People who may be a little closed-minded about it. But I can't really say that either, because if you're open, like you said, if you're open and receptive to it, you can still have a closed mind. But if you come, so I
You
don't.
can have beliefs. That's what the cognitive dissonance in. You're going to have the cognitive dissonance, but if it forces you to debate or try to negate the experience, then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like it's for anyone. I think it's not even, I don't even really think it's just for women. I think it's also for men, because, honestly, they may need it sometimes more, because of the fact that they
Don't
have
get
been
me started
taught,
with
yeah,
that.
like they've
Woo.
been taught to hold in all of their emotions. Like, you're not supposed to feel emotions if you're a man. Um,
Mhm.
and
I
this is
think you need a
why.
special one, honestly,
You said what?
please. You need a special one just for men.
I know. I've been. Somebody else said that. Do you do anything for men? I was like, damn. Like, I've thought about it, but I didn't think they were going to be receptive to a woman, in their space in some ways. But some men might be okay about it. But I really feel like men get a bad rap when it comes to them actually feeling their feelings. You're a punk, or you're this, or you're that, when you should feel your feelings, but there should be heart and mind coherence, I would say. um and sometimes, like, it's not good to always feel your feelings, but it's also not good to just be logical all the time. You have to have the balance. And all of us have what is it, feminine and masculine energy, and just about the DNA and the dynamics of who you are. But I don't know. I just feel like the room can be for anybody, but when it comes to who shouldn't, I just feel like it should be people who are just not ready to get past the programming of the physical reality. If you cannot, uh, if you are complacent and don't want to see another way for different things, um, you know, you may have to sit this one out, because I am in this space. We are going to, and I want people to like understand it's not fully about grief. Grief is the foundation. Like, what we are talking about here is the aftermath. How somebody got through, what were, the feelings and the thoughts and those type of things that they actually felt. How did they move through? Where were they then versus where they are now? Like, it's like that. It's not truly, oh my gosh, what happened? What trans
Mhm.
like, yes, people are going to be able to tell their stories of how it happened, but that's not the full focus. The full focus is, how did you triumph through that? How are you doing now? What did you learn from this experience? You know, s- things like that. It's not necessarily us sitting here having tissues, and even though that's probably going to be a given, but it's not really about that. It's truly about information that these panelists will bring forth from their experience. And they have a unique collective code that we can learn from. And when I say a unique collective code, I mean, as parents or a mom that lost their child, that is a unique collective code for their people. And what they can do with that unique collective code is not only connect to each other, but to help us understand them on a different level. And, give us that information that if one day it happens to me, I know I can contact them. I know I can go back in my mind, um, and dialogue about what they said at this particular event, and I can really try to take those steps or not take those steps, or learn how to take the rest, or learn how to not mask, because that was one of the things me and my cousin talked about, was she masked a lot of things. The emotions that she felt didn't come in the beginning, it came after. So it's all of those different things, all of those different pieces that make up that unique collective code that we are actually tapping into, um, as the full collective of people, to learn from them when it comes to the transition, the aftermath of the transition, and how to move forward. That's basically. So if you're not in that space of wanting to recognize that, or you just not in a space to change perspective on the transition, maybe it might not be for you. But if you're curious,
Yeah.
you're on the fence, then it's for you, and you need to be there. So, and it's going to be
Yeah.
different than what people think it's going to be. It's going to be way
Mhm.
different. There are going to be things that people probably have never seen before, or even heard. I'm not going to say, then again, I'm not going to say never, because I'm sure people have seen a lot of things, but um,
Mhm.
just the conversations, just the setup, just the experiences that are actually inside of this event that people don't even know is going to happen. Like, it's just one of those things. Damn it, why do people call me? Um, so yeah, it's just one of those things where if you're curious about being in the room, be in the room. If you're not open to another perspective around this topic, then maybe, it might not be for
Yes, sorry, I'm coughing some water.
you.
But yes, I
I
am
had two
very excited
I had
about it.
two phone calls come in, so your coughing is nothing compared to what just happened.
It's all good. Life be life, but we push.
Yeah.
But yes, I am so excited about the event. I'm excited about the experience. I'm excited about seeing the growth and the emotional expansion that's going to happen. And I know you're excited about it too. I love this because this is basically your passion in real life, right? To be able to, it's like Nicole the experience, essentially. Like, it's so amazing, and I'm so excited. But did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I mean, I think I said it on yours, but I do want to add the part about um this really weighed this really weighed heavily on me. Because I knew this was going to be a different experience. I knew that um some people may shy away from it, even the closest people to me may shy away. Um,
Yeah.
but honestly, like I always tell you, if it was not for you, you know, I don't know if you felt me or whatever have you, but I was truly about to push this back. Like I feel like I was self-sabotaging, self-doubting myself so much when I kind of now the numbers have changed now, but when I looked at the numbers then, I was just like, what am I doing this for? Like, and it's like I was in this heavy mode of being like, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I
Mhm.
give people some time and do this later. And when I
Mhm.
talked to you, you was like, uh, nope.
Cause if it's the beliefs that stopping you, them beliefs is gonna be still the same beliefs in March.
So I was like, you know what? She's right. Like, obviously, and then what I understood, obviously, number one, this is needed. Number two, what I understood because things started to happen to me to where I got in this heavy, dense energy. Um, and, you know, just to be honest, I ended up finding a lump in my right breast. And that was just the signal. I was like, nope, this ain't supposed to be happening. This ain't supposed to change it. I'm going to do this so I can take care of me. But then I started to realize through our conversations that this ain't about me. This ain't about me at all. This is about the panelists being able to speak because speaking is healing. This is about you, and I said this before, this is about you being able to continue honing in on your skills. This is for the audience healing or steps to find ways to move forward. This goes beyond myself. And
Mhm.
actually, this is a reciprocal process because it's not only, giving people that space to either talk or, cry or whatever have you, is also healing me in the process. It's helping me with confidence because I've never done an event like this before. I've done events before, but this is my first event, like talking about the transition and how to move through it. Like I'm like, damn, could I had kind of softened the blow a little bit, like do something else? But I was like, it was just spirit was just like, nope, this is what you're gonna do. This is how you're
Yeah.
gonna do it. These are the people that are gonna be connected to this. This is where you're gonna do it. I mean, I've been wanting to do something at Tasha's place for a very long time, and amazingly, that happened. Me and you have always done different events together. I know your energy, so you and I picked out of randomness, and neither were they. Like the panelists, my aunts. I mean, it all was a vision that came together, and I'm like, I'm gonna stop the vision that God had because of little something that I'm moving through, why would I do something like that when so many people can gather something out of this? Like, why would I stop? Why would I stop? Why? Why would I even? So I want to say thank you for, and not only, and it was so funny because you texted me, you said what you said, and you boosted me. I was like, yes, okay, let me keep going. And then that decision just made everything else compound. The decision to keep going forward not only added more people, um, not only did it, get the numbers up, that just that one decision of saying, yes, I'm going to do this. Like, then I got a message from Tasha, like asking me if I needed any help, who's facilitating, who's seeing if I needed anything to let her know. I mean, it was just like the flood just opened up just by you initiating my thought process to say yes to this event after what was found. But I feel like all of this, of course, is not coincidental. I felt like I was supposed to be in that place, um, to kind of level myself up and then say, no, this is not how it's going to be. And again, I just want to say thank you to you. I want to say thank you to the panelists. I want to say thank you to Tasha, everybody that's going to, that has asked me to volunteer. My cousin for doing the cupcakes, and, just for her to be like, no charge. Like, everything just started to come together in shape, form, and I like these last probably week or so, I have been high because of the fact that it just seems like everything is starting to, like, that puzzle is starting to form, and things are starting to really happen. Like, and that part right there to me solidified all of you guys, the whole, you know, collective experience that you gave, and, my cousin Shadana gave, and Tasha gave, and, the people who actually, bought the tickets, and, different things. That that's what this is about. Like, it's not about me. I'm just the person who brought the vision to life. They're the ones that experienced it. They're the ones that are going to, gain the nuggets from it. The audience, they're going to feel your energy. They're going to feel, Tasha's, like, facility, her space, how the ambiance of the space. I mean, it just goes much more deeper than what I was thinking. Just like you were talking about, what you were talking about earlier is like when people purchase the ticket, it's like it's deeper than just purchasing the ticket. You find in your outfit, and, all of these different, intricate pieces that go into it. It was the same here, and I just never really paid attention to that until, we talked, and then I understood that this ain't got nothing to do with me. It ain't got nothing to do with me. This is a collective that we are putting together for our sisters and brothers so that they can truly get the nuggets and the information they need to move forward from any type of transition that they're going to through, any grief that they're going through. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you to you, and to the panelists, and to anybody that has a hand in doing anything with this. Because it's more than just myself. It's more than just Nana. It's more than just Tasha. It's more than just, it's a collective effort. And I'm about to cry because it just all came together so quickly. And I just really want to thank you, honestly. I really want to say thank you for that
Course.
talk, that pep talk.
Of course. And it's going to be amazing. And you're going to fill up. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of us doing our part, and that's why we're here, and that's what we're doing. So I am proud of you for doing your part, for answering your calling, and blessing us with your mindset and your healing, right? Because all the information that you're giving is because of your healing, right? You had to do the work to give the message. So I thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your perspective, sharing your stories, sharing your journey, sharing just you, right? We're lucky to have you, and we are lucky to have this event. If you are watching this, make sure that you get your ticket because you heard all these amazing things that you can expect. So make sure you got your tickets for January 18th for this amazing event. The link is there. Click the link, buy the ticket, do yourself a favor, start the process, start the healing, start the new perspective shifts, start the sisterhood or, whoever comes, start the connections, start the work by pushing the button. It
Yes.
is an investment, not a price, but an investment. So invest in yourself, hit the button, and get here. And I hope to meet you. I will be there with the bells on. She will be there. We'll all be there. We'll have a great time. All
Yeah.
right.
All
All
right.
righty, love. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And again, thank you for being you.
Thank you for being you as well.
Yes.
Right.